Hi, I'm Michel Bayan, and welcome to the SourceDS. Hey everybody. So today my guest is Jake Varghese from LegalShield. He's the vice president and the general manager of their new product called Launch. He's new to the industry, and I think it's great to see someone that was successful outside. He had a strong career in LegalZoom and a couple of startups, bringing that to bear into a direct selling environment, and a company that's really showing again how being multi-channel can lead to success and can be compatible with your direct sales force and maybe even complementary in many cases. He's also showing how LegalShield is really going mainstream, breaking out of that bubble of direct selling and going into the mainstream, like for example, launching their launch product at South by Southwest this year. I mean, one of the most mainstream events in the world is South by Southwest. And there you've got LegalShield hosting and moderating two panels at that event. And of course, launching this small business launch product. So I think you'll find the conversation interesting. It's a little bit of a quicker one than normal, but we kind of get to the point and we talk a lot about how he's experiencing LegalShield and how the direct selling channels really touched him and inspired him at what direct selling is and can be. So I think you'll really enjoy this conversation with Jake Varghese, the vice president and general manager for the launch product at LegalShield. Enjoy, guys. Okay, Jake Varghese, welcome to the SourceDS podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting and having a great conversation here.
Thank you. As I was telling you before we started going here, I've always been a fan of LegalShield, especially the last couple of years. Your CEO, Jeff Bell, is a previous guest of ours. And when I saw what you guys were doing with this new product launch, I thought it would be just something great to talk about and share with the rest of the industry. You guys are doing some really out-of-the-box thinking in terms of the products you're launching, how you're marketing them, and how you're bringing them to market. So can you tell us a little bit about the idea for the launch product, how it came about, and how you got involved?
Sure. So, most startups really can't afford the legal fees that a lot of these big firms charge, especially when they focus on startups. So, LegalShield has always been about access to law. And one of the biggest underserved areas that they felt was the small business market, where consumers were looking to form businesses and they were paying a lot. But at the same time, they also needed the legal advice and the legal guidance an attorney can provide. So Launch became a combination of two worlds, right? One is the flat fee pricing, and the second is having the attorney there to review your answers, to go through the information, make sure you're making the right decision for you. And so as those two things kind of came on board, we were able to partner and do a lot of great things to build out the service. And when I came on board recently, it was already ready to go. And I was able to use my expertise to start building up the marketing and the sales channels to really make this hum.
That's cool. I mean, so just to get clear, what I'm hearing about this product is that you're sort of somewhere in between hiring a lawyer to get your business started and what somebody like LegalZoom would do, which is a much more kind of automated, like out of the box type of service without much, personalized access to a lawyer that you can actually talk to. So you guys are kind of bringing the best of both worlds together. And, as a startup guy myself, I've started a bunch of companies over the years. I feel the pain of, how expensive it is at the beginning and how much of your very, very limited capital at the beginning of a business you're kind of shoveling into legal just to make sure you're getting it started the right way.
Exactly, right. With Launch, you get 90 days of one of our small business legal plans included as part of your package price. And then you have the opportunity to control and move forward and keep that, which will help you on personal matters, business matters, across the board. So it makes sure that protection stays with you as you grow your business and as you continue to do other things. It's there for you whenever you need it, which is really important because a lot of people don't realize a lot of the small things that you really should ask an attorney, but you never do because you don't have access to one for an affordable price. And that's what we're doing here at Launch.
That's awesome. And let's talk about the launch of Launch because, one of the challenges that I see a lot in the direct selling industry is that so many direct selling companies are really insulated. We kind of live in a bubble. We only talk to each other. We only do business with each other. We only get advice from each other. And so people don't often engage in like mainstream culture. We're all our little kind of like, we have our own cultures that we build inside of our companies, but if you're not involved in our company, you probably never heard of us. And so what you guys did by getting Launch to launch at South by Southwest, I thought was really amazing. Can you tell us about the thinking that went into that and what the results were?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been familiar with South by Southwest because I used to live in Austin. And so I've attended it frequently. And, especially with South by Southwest Interactive, that's kind of been the cutting edge of startups and technology and working with founders, whether it be in film, music, or even and technology, right? They all need that help and that focus. So we participated in 2 panel sessions. One was one that I led, which was called Legal Roadblocks for Startups. And we had a great time talking to a wide array of folks there who came in. And we had a couple attorneys, a couple business development officers from Cooley, and then also Jacques Slade, who is famous as a YouTube promotion, unveiling Nike sneakers and Adidas, and does a lot of cool things. And he's coming in it from an entrepreneur's perspective, right? Just starting and all the challenges that he faced. So we were really able to have a great forum there where we could talk about, okay, what are the challenges? How do we help? What can we do? And it was a great dialogue. And then Jeff also led a panel there regarding access to justice and access to law. And that was a little bit more of a higher level look. And how do we bring the legal advice and the legal information that a lot of people need down to everybody? And so obviously LegalShield is one of those answers, right? We have affordable plans across the board for everybody, and that can really do that. So South by Southwest for launching Launch was ideal because you're bringing all these people with phenomenal ideas in play to see how we can help them start their companies, start their ideas, launch their ideas.
Yeah. And, South by Southwest, there's startups and there's startups, right? So there's startups like, the guy who wants to open a grocery store, down the street. And then there's startups like the companies that you see at South by Southwest, most of them technology driven companies that are going for more like a Silicon Valley hyper growth type of model. And, but regardless of what kind of business it is that you're starting, you're going to need this type of a service. I just thought it's interesting that, going after that kind of community, you never see direct selling companies engage in anything around the tech or technology or startup sector. So it was just really cool to see you guys jumping into an event that was so mainstream, like people talk about South by constantly. It's a conversation throughout the year and people come from everywhere to go there. And the fact that you guys had such a big presence, let's move a little bit into how you guys are marketing the product. Obviously we have the direct sales force. So there's some kind of training involved in getting them to understand that new product. Is that the only channel that you guys are offering it through? Or is there can people just log on to LegalShield.com and just buy it? How does it work?
So there's definitely several different ways, right? We're definitely reaching out to all of the associates. And I have a Facebook event every Thursday that I answer questions for any associate who wants to pose a question to me about the service or how it works or any of that stuff. So constant education is something that we are definitely doing in the associate channel. We're also doing search, right? When people are searching, hey, how do I form an LLC? They can find us that way. And then we're also going to be doing a lot of partnerships with companies who have similar audiences and needs that they need to start up a company, right? So, for example, banking is one area where someone comes to open a bank account, they're going to need some documents to get started. You'd be amazed at how many people don't understand the entire process or are not familiar with the whole process, right? So we have some opportunities there to do some partnerships and such. And obviously online, right? You can go to launch.legalshield.com and get started right there as well.
And so when somebody signs up, they can either do it through an associate that they know, or they can do it through, just an e-commerce experience that you guys are getting them via SEO or, other different marketing channels. Once they're on board and they are a customer, are they assigned to an associate or do they have any kind of relationship with an associate, or is it kept kind of separate at that point?
So it really depends on how they've come in, right? So if they've come in through an associate, obviously they're tied to that associate and that relationship is there. And associates have really been able to use this as a great opportunity to show the benefits of LegalShield and what we can do, right? I think, you asked a question earlier and I just want to go back to this. I think one of the reasons why South by Southwest was so awesome was that we are really proud of all the services that we offer, and we feel that it should be mainstream, right? And that's why we went to something like South by Southwest. And so here, as we're going mainstream and reaching out through digital marketing, those folks who are coming in that way, they're kind of separate. They're their own channel, as so to speak, and so they get their own kind of experience through the process.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's more and more direct selling companies these days, creating independent channels and finding opportunities, to both serve their independent sales reps and also take advantage of opportunities that their sales reps aren't bringing them. And, I think in some cases, there might be the sort of let's call it the incumbent or the kind of older school mentality of direct selling is like, oh no, you can't ever do that. But if you look at companies like Beauty Counter as a great example, they've proven that in fact you can, and that in many cases, having those other channels actually energizes your direct selling force and actually gives them more kind of street cred, because people might have heard of their product from some other channel beside an associate. In the case of Beauty Counter, it would be they were walking through, an aisle in Target and they saw the product and it reminded them, oh, I got to get in touch with my rep and make another order. Or maybe they saw it in Target, didn't buy it, and then met a rep and got the experience they needed to buy it in that case. So there's lots of different ways to cross-pollinate. Is that the perspective that you guys bring to the table? How do you guys look at that?
So we do. I think the other piece of it is that what we're dealing with is a lot of very specific information that people need to provide in order to start a company, right? And so that piece, it's very specific, and we don't expect all the associates to learn that information because it's not doable, right? So I'm sure it is, but it could be hard, right? So we focus really hard on helping the associate talk about what the service is and why it's beneficial and why it's the best thing. But the focus that we're putting on here is have them come to the website and fill in the information, and we've got people who can help them and answer any questions that they may have, right? So we're here to assist the associates through the process of helping their prospect sign up.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, I was an associate way back in the day, and I remember, I needed to do a special training to be able to sell business plans because the LegalShield business plans were just more complicated than the regular consumer plans. And basically, LegalShield needed to know that I knew what I was talking about, before I could sell that to anybody else. And I was incentivized, and I did it, and it worked out really good for me. And I've been a customer on both of those plans for a really long time. So you guys have been launching a lot of new products over the last couple of years. I remember, really last year, building that mobile app that allowed people that really integrated with people's experience as a customer, that they could put questions in and get a lot of answers without even needing to call their law firm was a great idea. And it looks like, you're kind of pushing the boundaries more in terms of technology. What are you guys seeing? Like, what is the future for you guys? What do you guys have on your horizons?
So obviously, we have Shake, which comes pre-installed with the library of agreements that's there on mobile. We also just launched a few weeks ago, I think maybe a week ago, the ability for the member to do their will right within the app. It's right there. The questionnaire is right there. They fill it out. They submit it. It takes about 10 minutes. And then your law firm is going to give you a call back and get your will delivered to you, right? They're going to ask a few more follow-up questions. But, again, it's a different experience. It's combining the new technology and the new ways that people interact with lawyers and with services like ours. And it's been amazing.
I remember the old one, just to kind of like go back and reminisce for a second. I used to fill it out. When I first joined, it was like a whole packet. And it was a paper thing, and I had to fill it out, and then I had to mail it back in, and then it was multiple weeks process to get the will done. Doing it in an app is probably not only faster, but there might, there's probably little areas where I can be like, what does this mean? And like little things pop up to kind of tell me what it's asking me to do and explain it better.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our focus
digital experiences.
Exactly, right? We want to deliver value to our members and also keep up with the technology that's there. And we think it's a phenomenal first step, right? We're going to continue to improve, continue to focus on how can we make that experience even better. And both of those products are available through the App Store and the Google Play, right? So it's cool. A lot more.
And by serving people the way they want to be served, giving them the experience that they've come to expect from a mainstream brand, probably has a direct effect on your ability to retain customers.
Absolutely. Right. We want to make sure that, as you said, right, customers have an expectation of how they expect services, and that expectation is going up. So we need to continue to be on the leading edge of that and lead the way and not be a follower.
That's awesome. I also know last year, didn't you guys have a historic year last year, signing up like a record number of new associates?
We did. I think the focus and the energy that the team has put in has been amazing. I like I said, I came on board at the end of December, and so the energy that the team has, and I attended my first conference this past few months ago, and I'll tell you, I was blown away by the amount of energy, the excitement that people have, the speakers, the leadership. I mean, it was crazy, and the momentum is just continuing to build and build and build. I mean, we're going through record numbers, continuing to grow exponentially, probably the fastest we've grown in years. As Jeff puts it, we're a 45-year-old startup, right? We're starting again. We're re-energizing the base. We're adding to the base. It's crazy. It's awesome.
That's great, man. I love to see it too. Just to see that transformation over the last couple of years has just been incredible, and it's really an example to other direct selling companies of like what is possible for you. And so let's talk about your experience a little bit, because you were a lawyer for a while, and then you spent a lot of years helping LegalZoom build up their business, and then at some point you kind of made this transition into LegalShield, and I can imagine how you're already beginning to comment on like how striking the direct selling culture was to you and how much it impacted you. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience and like what are you learning, and what are your experiences like now that you're in a more of a direct selling context?
So I'll tell you that when I first heard about prepaid legal, which is now LegalShield, but I met Harlan, and amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I met Harlan, and we visited prepaid and got a chance to meet with the team, and I was blown away by their operations. And I was an outsider looking in, right? So direct selling to me was a little foreign. I'd known about Amway and a few others and didn't really know what to think. And when I started to leave LegalZoom and I kind of ventured on my own and did a few things, a few startups, and then started talking with Jeff. And at first I was a little leery about the whole thing, but as I've gotten in and started to know the people and know how this works and see the drive and the rewards that it offers people, it's been amazing. It's really changed my outlook and my perception of this entire area and this entire market. And so, I'm working with all of these folks and these associates, and you see how much they want to help people, right? I mean, obviously there's a financial benefit, but at the heart of everything is they want to help people get access to services that they need, whether they know it or not in some cases. And you see that passion. And I mean, those are the folks that are the ones that are really successful, right? So I've just been blown away.
It is amazing, how many people join direct selling businesses for so many different reasons, and how much good we do in changing people's lives is amazing, both from the customer and the associate side. And it's really unfortunate the kind of bad PR that direct selling has gotten for itself over the last generation or two. And I think it's important for us as a channel to really kind of step out of the bounds like you guys are doing at South by and in other ways, and really kind of show the world, mainstream business and mainstream culture in general, the amount of good that we do, and also in many companies in ways to kind of increase that and do whatever we can to make more associates successful, to look more modern in the way we do things, to be more transparent in the way that we do business. And from an economic perspective, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. We were having a roundtable a few weeks ago with several different CEOs of different direct selling businesses, all like couple $100 million plus businesses, and we were talking about the future of work and how you got more and more robots taking more and more people's jobs. We got self-driving cars and trucks that are going to eliminate millions of jobs. I mean, from factory workers. I mean, I was talking to somebody I know at JP Morgan, and they just released an AI that's automating their lawyers' work. It's eliminating 360,000 hours of lawyers' work at JP Morgan every year. So, I mean, if you can automate lawyers, then not a lot of us are going to be safe in terms of the job market. And if we can just kind of get ourselves as a direct selling channel past this perception of this MLM pyramid-y stuff, which really isn't true for the vast majority of companies, we can look at ourselves from an economic perspective and be like, well, what are we doing here? We're taking a person and we're making them the center of a good or a service in their community, and we're returning a substantial portion of that sale back into the community that generated it, keeping money at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder as opposed to the top, which is where a lot of places it's going more and more these days. And as these people are getting ejected from the job market, how can we absorb them? How can we give them these opportunities? How can we make it easier and create less and less friction in the process?
So, my perspective is that the gig economy is really just not slowing down, right? It's going to continue to attract people who seek to be independent. They want to control their freedom. They want to control their time. Time is something that you don't get often, right? And so they want the ability to do something that controls their own destiny. They're not dependent on the corporation for their income. They control it themselves. So I think that's where that's where we as an industry can fit and provide them some opportunities to do that, and to do that pretty substantially in terms of the financial backing that they get. So, obviously one of the bigger things that we're doing is focusing on outreach and education for associates to get them up to speed as quickly as possible and to get them successful and to see the rewards that we can offer through this process, right? And to be able to control their time. We, at the conference, one of the things that we did is a wall of why. And I was exposed to this for the first time, and it was amazing to see all the reasons that people were in this industry. And, that's the future, right? That why, that control of their own self, their own freedom, their own destiny, providing for their family, and not dependent on the corporation or somebody else to provide their livelihood. So I don't see this slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, direct selling is like the original gig economy. It's just a lot of these tech companies just somehow kind of skipped over us because so many companies in direct selling were so laggard in terms of adopting modern technologies, from mobile to social to big data to analytics, all that stuff just kind of like fell by the wayside. And, a lot of people didn't really see this wave coming. And if a direct selling company could recruit people as fast as Uber, right?
Yeah.
Why is Uber the only one that has to do that? I mean, and companies like you guys are really getting good and savvy at showing that these kind of opportunities can be mainstream, and that's great, man. It's really wonderful to see.
No, great. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we, like I said, record numbers, right? And people are seeing it, people are buying and moving forward and really challenging records that have stood for a while, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's great. So let's move a little bit more into just getting to know you. You're getting your feelers for the industry. It's amazing to see that you're really loving it, and it's great to see how it touches you. And we see that again and again with new executives that come into direct selling companies and how just struck they are by the people. But we in the channel though, we also see a lot of executives that I meet, really working really hard. There's a lot of demands that are put on us. And because a lot of our financials go into our compensation plans, we don't necessarily sometimes have as big of a staff as a regular, more retail-driven company would be. And so a lot of people I see in the industry kind of struggle with how they find their balance between work and life. Do you have some practices and techniques that kind of help you stay on the up and up and help you stay balanced that you can share?
Yeah, I will say, especially in my early years, I was not a very balanced person. I was probably overly focused on work and all of that. And, as I've had 3 kids, 6, and then we had twins that are 4, they change your perspective on where you spend your time. And so, I tried to keep my weekends for my kids and my family, right? And so it's kind of this understanding that, hey, during the week I'm going to be working, but I still try to make the time to drive them to school in the morning, be at home to tell them a story before they go to bed. And then weekends, like I said, I try to keep that free so that there's that connection and that time that we get to spend, because, we work hard for our kids and providing them a good life. But at the same time, you have to enjoy that, right? Along with your spouse, and that's important. So I try to keep my weekends free, and I try to make sure that I try to drive my kids to school in the morning. So we have a 40-minute drive. So it's a great opportunity to talk, right? And ask them, hey, what's going on? Sometimes it's fighting, but it's good, right? It's that interaction that's important.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. I mean, family is one of those balancing factors that can keep you grounded. And sometimes, you'll do things for yourself, for your kids, that you wouldn't do for yourself without them,
Exactly. Right. I mean, If I didn't have the family or the kids, I'd probably be working 90 hours a week. Right. But that's because that's just my nature. And so having them has really kind of put my life in perspective.
And it's funny sometimes to see, like you'll fit the work to the time allotted,
You will. You sometimes get amazed at how much you can get done, right?
Yeah. It's really interesting, like if you give yourself 10 hours, it'll take 10. If you give yourself 9, it'll take 9,
Right.
And it's interesting that way. So another question is, I always ask this to everybody, if you could place an ad on the internet that every person that's online in the next 24 hours will see, what would that ad say or do?
Wow. I think it would be an ad that would be focused on get back your time and spend it with the ones that you love, right? I think one of the unique things about being here in this company has been about how people have taken back their time, have taken back control of the direction, right? And I think that's really started to have a bigger, profound impact on me about where I spend my time and what I would do. So I would encourage people to take control of their lives, take control of their time, and be focused on the things that are important.
That's great. Is there a charity or a special cause that's close to your heart?
So there's two things, the two areas that I kind of have always kind of had a soft spot for. My little brother has Down syndrome, and so it was interesting for me to grow up because he was born when I was a teenager, when I was like 13, and so there's a fairly significant age gap between the two of us, and so it's been eye-opening to see how he has developed and grown, and just what he's been able to accomplish over his time. And so Special Olympics and that is something that is pretty dear to my heart. And then as I've had kids, just seeing the struggles that sometimes kids go through. And I'm originally from India, and so we've gone back fairly frequently back there recently. And, just seeing the poverty that exists there and figuring out how we can make a difference is something that we're now kind of focused on as a family as well.
Oh, that's great, man. I love it. I'm the son of two third world immigrants myself, and so it's always a humbling experience. A lot of people don't appreciate the opportunity that we get when we come here. If you could go back to any moment in your life and meet yourself at that moment and give yourself a piece of advice, when would you go back to, and what would you say to yourself?
Wow. So I am an avid football fan. I love football. I grew up in Minnesota, and so I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. And I really probably would have gone back and told myself when I was probably 8 to start playing football earlier than when I did. I didn't play until high school, and I was good, but I would go back and tell myself to practice and to do more and to get into that game earlier, because I think, I would have loved to see what that could have done, right? I can think to a certain extent, I always wish I had played earlier. So that's probably where I'd be if I could go back.
That's cool. That's the youngest one I've had yet. Most people are like, when I was 18 or 20 and I was doing this or whatever. That's great. That's cool. It's one of those childhood dreams that you want to kind of go back to. Jake, thanks a lot. It's been great getting to know you, and I know you're new in the industry, and I look forward to more and more amazing things that you're going to bring to the table, both for LegalShield and for direct selling in general. And let's definitely stay in touch with you and continue to see how launch goes. Good luck with the continued success of it, and let's stay in touch. Maybe we'll have you back on sometime.
Absolutely. Loved it. Thank you for having me, and Look forward to talking with you. And, like I said, love to come back.
Thanks.
Thanks.